Okay, so we are going to customize the inside of WHMCS once a client has logged in to their client area. So what you see here is the default settings of what WHMCS present once somebody logged in for the first time. So this is the home page of the client area, and you see the menus on the top here. They have services, my services, order, new ones, and a few available add-ons. You have domains, billing, support, and open a new ticket here. Now what we are going to do is we are going to radically simplify the whole thing inside the client area. So when somebody logs in, it's going to look real clean and simple. There is no clutter at all, and everything is just looks real easy to use. Okay, so what I'm trying to do now is actually make it even more simpler. I want this whole part here to actually be on the same page as the details. So I want the services to be listed on top of this details page, so it will be on the top part here. So to do that, the only way to do that is to actually add our own PHP code inside the details template page. So here on the very top part, I want to list the available services for this account, and then the user can switch between domains if they have more than one domains. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go back to my file manager here, go to my templates, default, client area product details, client area product details, which is this one, the product details page. And I'm going to go to my code editor here, hit edit. So this is the whole thing. Now I want to do a query on the top here. If I do a PHP tag on the top, PHP. So I'm not going to pause this video recording because you might get something out of this. So let's go ahead. We want to query all services for this client, right? For this client, and display it here. Display it on the top page there, okay? Okay, so the first thing we want to get is the client or user ID of the one who is logged in. We can get this using this, which I got from WHMCS documentation. So this is our user ID, right? Now, once we got the user ID, we want to grab all active services or even all services for this actual user ID. So to do that, we're going to go browse to our PHP my admin for this club coder table. I'm going to go to my PHP my admin here. And here I'm going to open the tables, this one, and go. It should be in the TBL hosting packages, if I remember correctly. So let's browse here, TBL hosting packages, or TBL hosting. Let's see, let's browse here. Okay, so this is what we want. Okay, we have the user ID, and then we can get the rest of the records there, right? Domain status is active, and yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a query here. Go back to my file manager, and Let's start for club coder, so it won't mix with other variables inside WHMCS. Club coder get services, select everything star from TBL hosting, where user ID equals user ID, right? So we got that covered. Now the result is this one, MySQL query get services. Okay, so now we got it. So we want to loop through the whole thing, right? Let me save this for now. Okay, so now I'm going to paste my while loop. Here we got ID, domain, username, and domain status, which is from this table. We want to get the ID, the hosting ID, and then the domain. I'll have to code clubcoder.com. We also want the domain status, so they can see if it's active or terminated or suspended, and the username or the cPanel username for it. So that's what we want, and let's go ahead and display that on the top. I'm gonna go back to my file manager. Now this is the while loop, right? So I'm gonna put this into a variable called maybe domain list. Domain list. So we got a bit of coding video here. Equals, we want it to be a input, or yeah, an input tag, input type. I'm gonna escape the character there. You know what? I'm gonna use a select drop down menu instead of radio button. So I'm gonna use option name. I'm gonna escape the character there. Service ID, probably service ID, and escape the character there. And then I'm gonna put the value, and I'm gonna put the product ID or the ID from here, this ID here. The value is ID, and close that. And then we are going to display the information, which is the domain, and put a parenthesis there, username, and the status of it, domain status, right? And then close the variable. So this is the domain list, and it's going to populate if it has more than one. So I'm going to add domain list at, so domain list equals domain list plus this string. Okay, and okay, that looks good. So now we want to print this whole variable into a form. So let's put a form here. Okay, so I have finished the code. So let's go from top to bottom. Here I'm grabbing the ID of the form that is being passed. If something is changed, like this is the final result. So if you have more than one coding packages, they can flip and change to the second one or the third one, and it's going to pass through the ID variable, and this is simply just going to grab it. And now it's the user ID we got from the session, and we do a query, select everything from the table hosting where user ID is user ID, and then we loop through the result, and we get the ID, domain, username, domain status, and here what I'm doing is, if the ID, the current ID on the loop equals the one that is being selected from the form, and then we just want to make that option field selected, so it's going to be selected. Now we put the domain list together, which is the option values here. So it's just going to loop through and keep adding the domain list variable with this string. So once that's done, I'm gonna add the table here, which is this two part. This is the first one, and then the second part, right? The table. This is the first part here, and then just simply h2 tag your coding packages. And the second one, which is a form, going to this client area.php with the method get, and I'm passing the product details variable. The value is product details. The variable name is action. How do I get this? So because if I go here and I'm back to product service list, if I click view details, you see at the bottom there, action equals, or even if I click here on the top here, action equals product details and ID equals 2. So these two variables need to be passed to this template before it can display the correct data. So that's what we are doing at the moment. So we are passing through this form, and we put the input field action, input type hidden, and name action, and the value is product details. And the name of the second variable is ID. So what's the value? The value is on the option here, right? The value is the product ID itself, which is this ID here. That's what we want to pass. So once that's done, we put a bit of styling here, as you can see, the style. So I make it bigger. The font is bigger here. And I want to also on change, if someone changed the coding package, if they have more than one, it should change to the next one. So that's pretty much it. So when somebody is logged in to the client area in the first time, the first thing they will see is this actual page. Well, not this exactly, but we will put some videos and some other content, but we want to make it simple. They can flip through here, and so this is the active one, sister, but they can switch between the two surfaces now. They can simply click there and they can log in to cPanel for I love the code, and if they switch here, they can log into cPanel for sister.clubcoder.com. So this is the main page that I want when somebody logs into the client area. This is the page where I want them to land. So next we are going just to do that and also modify this part a bit. We want change password, probably remove add-ons, and we keep this one as well. And change the spacing, make it tidier a bit. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so next I want to make this page the client area homepage. So when they log in, they will see this page the first time instead of this one. So let's do that. Let's open up the client area home.tpl. I'm going to the file manager, templates, and default. Go to client area home. Let's see, client area, contact details, add-on, home, this one. So I'm gonna edit code editor here, edit. So this is the whole thing that's displaying the content on this page. Now instead of deleting the whole thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of the file first. Okay, So before I delete the whole content, let me just go back to my file manager here and copy that file, make it client area home default tpl. Copy the file. So it's client area this one. It's copied. Now I can safely delete everything on the client area home here. Let's do that. If I select everything and just delete the whole thing there, let's save changes and reload this. This should be blank now. There we go, it's blank. But instead of blank, I want it to go to this page when somebody logs in. I don't want them to log in to see this page, but the details page of the first package, which is this one. So we want the template to go to this URL here. We have to define the ID of the package, right? And then we go to there. So basically, I'm going to copy my query in the other file, this one here. Let's just copy the whole thing here and modify it a bit. I'm going to paste it here. There we go. We have that. So we don't need this as we are not passing any form values. So we have this and we have the idea. And I'm going to delete this whole thing here. We don't use that as well. We don't need this and this. We just need the ID actually. So that's the ID, right? Now, let's modify the query a bit. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, go here where user ID equals user ID. Now, and domain status equals active, right? We want the active one. Order by ID, right? And then limit 1. We just want to get the top record there. So order by ID, limit 1. So we got the ID here, right? So if I test this, if I go ahead and print we should have number 2 there. Let's try it out. I'm going to save this and I'm going to reload. If I go home, we should have the number 2. That's what we want. So now we want to go to this page, my services, this actual page here, right? So I'm going to go back to my file manager and remove this print out. Tidy this a bit. And I'm going to use some JavaScript to change the page to that one. Okay, so I'm going to save this first. So I'm going to add this code, which is a simple JavaScript redirect to the clubcoder.com client area.php !action equals product details and ID equals ID. So this is basically this URL on the top here. As you can see, we just want people to go to this page when they click on the home. So that is what it's doing now. If you click home, it simply go back here. See, it's going back here. So it's working as we expected. Okay, so first of all, I want to remove the left section here. We have this left section, this one, and this one as well. I'm going to remove those. Let's go to the file manager. So I'm going to close this one, and that is the product details, client area product details. Let's go to the code editor, edit. So let's go ahead and remove the left part there. So those part is actually this one, the div class call 30. So I'm going to delete or even just comment those part there until this end. Okay. Same goes with the other sections. So this one, I'm gonna comment that out until the end of the div there. Same one with this one as well. Comment this out until the end of the div. And the last one here. And the end of the div, which is this one. Okay. So that's all. I'm going to save the changes. Go back here and reload. So it looks good. Change password, add-ons, and this one. Okay, so it doesn't have two sections as we don't need the left part. That's better. And next, I want to make this button with the same yellowish button as the ones on the outside. So if I view the source here, view source, login to cPanel, class is btn. Okay, class is btn. So let's open up the CSS file. Okay, so what I did was replacing this class. As you see, replace module button, and then it was just btn there. So I changed that to btn cc for club coder, and then I make or modify the Bootstrap Dot Css file. This one, Bootstrap Dot Css, which is under the templates folder. Templates, default, since I'm using the default template, and then CSS. Let's navigate template, default, and then CSS, bootstrap.css. I open that file, and I just add this style for the orange button. So I add this class in the CSS. Once I add that class and I save the CSS file, so all I need to do is change this to btn cc instead of just btn, and this is what I got. So if you refresh this is what I got. So this is exactly what I want, a big chunky button. I was actually trying to change the whole btn style sheet, but actually the btn class in the CSS file is being used all throughout the WHMCS design, so it's gonna mess up all the design. So instead of changing the default btn, I just add a new one, which is btn cc, which is this yellow chunky buttons. So that's good. So next, I want to make some more changes to even make it more simpler or cleaner. I want to remove all this recurring amount, next due date, billing cycle, payment method, because that is a part of the billing, which will be in the billing section there. So I'm going to remove all those so it's not too cluttered, and then I'm going to remove the registration date as well here in the information. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go scroll up a bit. So this is the section of the information, right? This is the registration date, which I don't want. So let's remove that. Next, this is the group name, which I want. The product or service, this I want. But the recurring, all this stuff, I don't want. The billing cycle, payment method, I don't want that. So let's see. This one I don't want. Recurring, billing cycle, next due date, payment method, I don't want that. So let's comment this out. Okay, let's see. Suspend, if it's suspended. Last update. So okay, this is the megabyte of usage, bandwidth and disk space. That's useful. Let's see how it looks now. If I save changes and I'm gonna reload. Aha, much cleaner, isn't it? So information, product, service, coding package. I don't even have to put this product or service, right? So I'm just gonna remove this and maybe make this a bit bigger, or just remove this part, product or service, which is, I'm gonna scroll up, dedicated IP, here the H4 part here. So I'm gonna get this, put it until the H4 ends. There we go. If I save this and reload the page, even better, right? So coding packages, discover, right? We don't even have to put this, we don't even have to put coding packages, just discover and make it even bolder. Let's do that. Let's go back here. We don't need coding packages, which is group name, right? Just even comment until that part. So it starts with the product and style it probably, or no, or let's style the whole thing, right? I'm gonna make it H3 all the way until the end here, right? And close it with a H3 in the end here. H3. See how that looks? Discover. I love the code. It's even better and it's active, right? Let's make this maybe on the side here, and then the active button on the very end. So let's do that. So the product label status, right? Now I'm gonna make this span in the very end. Cut that. Put this in the very end. And the domain, it doesn't have to be on another div. Just like that. We don't need the div, right? Remove the div. Class label raw status, and what's the end of the P here? We don't need that. This is from the P, the paragraph from here, right? So I'm gonna remove this part and remove this part, so probably it doesn't need that. Just save this now and let's see how this looks. Awesome. Probably put a dash there. Product. There we go. And then just before the status, put another dash. Just before the status, put another dash here. And save. Now it's gonna be awesome. Great. So now disk space, bandwidth, and login, right? So this is perfect, right? So you go home and you see this, which is simple. Oh, I have discover package, and this is my domain, and it's active, and my disk space is still 0, bandwidth is still 0, and I can log in here, and I can change my password here if I want. So that's cool. Leave that. Add-ons. So do we want to have add-ons? For now, I don't think we're gonna have add-ons, right? For the discover or superpower packages, what kind of add-ons do we want to add? Yeah, it's gonna be a bit confusing, but I'm just gonna leave it. Maybe we can use some add-ons like SSL or dedicated IP or a trusty seal, or we can think about that later. So for now, they can change, upgrade, and downgrade package. Request cancellation here. Information. So that looks good. So that's good. So home is this part, which is awesome, and they can change the awesome, right? This doesn't have the disk space. This we have to check that as well. How come this one that doesn't have any disk space usage? First payment amount, and it has a first payment amount. Oh, this one, let's check on that. So first payment, oh, this one, we don't want that one too. Let's grab that. And if first payment not equal, we don't need that. So save, oopsie, save changes and refresh. Now if I go here, looking good. So the only one is missing is the disk space usage. See, this one has a disk space usage, and that one doesn't have a disk space usage. We're gonna check on that later on. But other than that, it's cool. Everything looks good. So next is the menus on the top here. We're going to remove those that we don't want to use. Okay. I think the next part I'm gonna continue in the next course, because this is a bit long now. So I'm gonna close this course on this part, and I'll see you in the next course.